to the INFOWARS Nightly News. I'm David Knight. It's Friday, January the 25th, 2013. And here are our top stories.
Tonight on the INFOWARS Nightly News, globalist kingpin Henry Kissinger predicts nuclear war with Iran. Then, Feinstein and flunkies would be immune to the latest gun grab. All that and more coming up on the INFOWARS Nightly News.
Well, New York police unions don't believe that they should be subject to the same gun control laws as quote-unquote regular citizens, especially even retired police. In a report from the Huffington Post, it says New York gun control laws anger retired police who believe they should be exempted from some restrictions. Listen to these quotes from some union presidents. It says, as law enforcement officer for over 20 years, I understand the importance of instituting a new policy on mandating the limits of bullets that a regular citizen can possess. But as a matter of fact, the bad guys are not going to follow this law. And another union president said, gun reform must prevent criminals and the deranged from getting illegal weapons, not restricting law-abiding retired cops from protecting themselves and the public. So essentially, they're making the same arguments that us regular citizens make, and that is that the criminals, the bad guys, are not going to follow these gun control laws. And the other thing that's interesting is that these New York retired police don't trust active duty police to be able to take care of them. Yes, they want to have guns just like the rest of us to protect themselves. So basically, they have a different standard for quote-unquote regular citizens than they do for us. But these police unions, one of which has 6,000 members, another that has 50,000 members, they want to make sure that they are a special class of citizen, not like us regular citizens. Now, one sheriff who understands that that's not the case is an Arizona sheriff, and he has exactly the opposite attitude. Arizona sheriff refuses to enforce unconstitutional executive orders in Arizona County. This is Arizona Pinal County Sheriff Paul Babbo, I believe is how you pronounce his name. And he wrote a letter to President Obama, and he said, do you honestly feel that any criminal or someone who is mentally ill will obey an executive order made by you related to gun control? And I like this in his letter. This is really telling. He says in one paragraph, the most important office in our republic is that of a private citizen.
But clearly, this president, Obama, Eric Holder, all of these people who believe that they just can sign an executive order without the legislative process and has the same effect as law is ridiculous. And I, as a constitutionally elected sheriff, shall not only not enforce it, she'll fight this president, and they're trampling on the Constitution.
Look at what a polar opposite that is to what the New York police are saying. They're essentially saying that the New York police and the retired police are special and elevated citizens with special rights and privileges. But the reality is that they're there to serve private citizens. And that's what this Arizona policeman understands, this Arizona sheriff. And he says, in one paragraph, he says, America has seen an even higher number of our citizens killed by impaired drivers involved in automobile collisions. Why are you not seeking to remove vehicles from our roadways? It's because you realize it's the drivers who are at fault and not the vehicle that they are driving. Now, the only thing I disagree with him on is he says that he's writing this letter to inform President Obama that any law or regulation created by an executive order of your office contrary to the Constitution is one that he will not obey. Now, that's good, but it doesn't quite go far enough, because if we get something that stops short of executive orders, if we get new regulations from the ATF, or if we get laws from Congress that are in violation of the Constitution, those are just as much a violation and an infringement upon our Second Amendment rights as any executive order from Obama. But he has the right idea. Now, just to get an idea of the kind of tactics that Obama is capable of using, a court today struck down his recess appointments as unconstitutional. The three-judge panel ruling is a major blow to Mr. Obama. The judges ruled that the appointments he made to the National Labor Relations Board are illegal, and hence the five-person board did not have a quorum to operate. But the ruling has made even a broader constitutional significance, with the judges arguing that the president's recess appointment powers do not apply to intra-session appointments. In other words, those made when Congress has left town for a few days or weeks. And they said that Obama erred when he said he could claim the power to determine when he could make appointments. And I say this all comes about as the idea that the president can use his powers to fill offices when Congress is not there. But the intention was that this would be done because Congress didn't used to meet nearly year-round as they do now. So when they have not suspended session for the year, the court is saying that he has no right to make these appointments. If he has the right to make those appointments, he's going to be able to basically subvert the idea that the Congress has something to say about those appointments. But it's exactly the sort of thing we've seen before from the Obama administration. If you recall, in New Year's Eve of 2011, he passed the NDAA. He signed it, rather, I should say, when nobody was there and when nobody was paying attention. Everybody was busy with the holidays. And it's exactly the sort of thing that I'm afraid we're possibly going to see with the UN Arms Trade Treaty. Now, you may not realize it, but it takes 2/3 of the senators who are present in order to ratify a treaty. And I'm very much afraid that he's going to play some kind of a sleight of hand trick with this, just as we saw them do with the Obamacare passage, giving that to congressmen who had not even had a chance to read it and forcing them to vote on it, or playing some kind of a game with gun control in terms of shutting down filibusters. That's something that's also been talked about. Now, like New York cops, Illinois cops see themselves as a special ruling class with special privileges.
Okay, so police are now crossing locked fences without homeowners' consents. Laura, do you give consent for this officer to go onto her property?
He's not protecting me, he's protecting the city. This is like a dictatorship.
Officer, do you feel comfortable with what you're doing?
Ma'am, I'm not giving you the permission to record me, so please don't record me.
Okay, I won't.
And don't record my officers either.
I'm recording the city of Naperville.
Well, this is a continuation of a story that we first covered yesterday. In Naperville, Illinois, these residents who had concerns, health concerns about smart meters and didn't want them installed at their homes, and they have a federal lawsuit that is pending. Still, the police escorted utility workers over their locked fences and forcibly installed smart meters in their homes. Now, as you could see, this officer was not very comfortable being filmed. They asked him, "Are you really comfortable trespassing on our property and installing this?" And he kind of walks away beating his head, as you see him doing there. And then he comes back and tells them that he doesn't want them filming. Now, what happened was, as you saw, the lady complied with that. She turned the camera off of him. She continued to talk about it, and they posted that on YouTube. And once they saw that posted on YouTube, the police returned and arrested the lady. Now, this is something that is over and over again, especially in Illinois. And Illinois seems to have a particular problem with the police being filmed in public while they're doing their duty. If you recall, in May of 2012, the U.S. 7th Circuit Court of Appeals blocked the enforcement of a law that made it a felony to film officers in the state of Illinois. And at one point in time, one man was facing a life sentence for doing that. They had hit him with so many charges, and the charges were each about 15 years apiece. Now, that was overturned by the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals. The Cook County Attorney General appealed it. It was struck down by a court of appeals, and they have also had in Illinois, Tawanda Moore was charged with recording patrol officers, and a jury came back with just 1 hour. They acquitted her in that. So there have been multiple cases in Illinois. There have been other cases throughout the United States that say that we have a right to film the police. There is no expectation of privacy. They do not have special privileges just because they're police or just because they're in uniform. They record us all the time. We have the right and the responsibility to record them. It helps to keep them honest. What you saw in this video was the officer who was not comfortable and knew what he was doing was wrong, and that's why he didn't want to be recorded. Now, the TSA is conducting checks even here in Austin at train stations. That's right, train stations. They're taking their act on the road and they're going to train stations. Now, they're asking passengers to volunteer to have their bags searched. This is the way they're doing it because it's not legal. The random checks are labeled as voluntary, purely because if they were anything but voluntary, they would be unconstitutional, in violation of the Fourth Amendment, which protects against unreasonable searches. As we see in the video report on this article at INFOWARS, all passengers were asked by the TSA agents to place their bags down on the platform to allow dogs to sniff away at them in search of drugs or explosives. And when the train arrived, the dogs were taken on board to check the cargo holds. This is the same type of thing that, if it sounds familiar, It's kind of similar, I guess, to the IRS telling us that the income tax system is a voluntary system and they just want you to comply with that. And so now violations of our Fourth Amendment are presented to us by armed guards in a group and say, we want you to voluntarily comply with this. So basically they're ruling by intimidation. And we're seeing that the TSA is not strictly limiting their operation to the airport. They are the Transportation Security Agency. And as we've seen, they've done over 9,000 checks in the last year. They're in places that are not airports. They're going on the road, on the highways, and in the train stations and bus stations. Now, it's not a good week for Piers Morgan. After admitting earlier this week that he had gotten flu from a flu vaccination that he got on his show as a kind of a public display encouraging people to get flu vaccinations. Now we find out that his beloved and venerated BBC is implicated in a giant and ever-expanding pedophile scandal. Yes, in the UK, after exposure of pedophile BBC star, probe widens even to the UK Parliament. Now, the person who was involved in this is a personality named Savile, and or Seville, I believe. Anyway, eventually, through a documentary, it was exposed that this person had 450 victims ranging in age from 8 to 47. And those people have since come forward. Experts say there could be many more too. Law enforcement finally jumped on the case after his death, concluding in the report that he was involved in vast predatory and opportunistic sexual abuses over a period of about 60 years. Now, here's what's interesting about this story, besides its scope and scale and the fact that it went on for so long. These were done, according to this article, on BBC property. And it was said that in the article that many people that he worked with knew about this going on. And he had extensive connections with people in Parliament as well as with the royal family. So this is something that David Icke and others had spoken of. It is now coming to light. And after it came to light in a documentary, a report, the BBC then pulled that down, and that enlarged the scandal. There was a great deal of outrage after they suppressed the initial report of his behavior. Now, if you remember, if you saw Jesse Ventura with Piers Morgan, Jesse Ventura was talking about Building 7 and how the BBC was reporting that it had already come down, and you could see the building over the reporter's shoulder. And Piers Morgan was just incredulous. He said, "You're talking about the BBC." Yes, that's right, the same BBC. Well, Henry Kissinger, is it just me, or is he kind of the archetype for Dr. Strangelove? He's now in Davos, Switzerland, talking about nuclear war, because I guess he's got his underground bunkers set up just like Dr. Strangelove. He says that a crisis involving a nuclear Iran in the foreseeable future will lead to nuclear war and a, quote, turning point in human history. Now, this is in spite of the fact that the UN International Atomic Energy Agency has found no evidence that Iran is developing a nuclear weapons program, and Defense Secretary Leon Panetta told Face the Nation earlier this month that Iran is not currently building a nuclear weapon. And in 2012, spy agencies agreed with a 2007 intelligence finding that concluded that Iran had abandoned its nuclear weapons program. Now, one of the things that they found in January of 2011 was that Iran was enriching uranium to a 20% level. That's a long ways from the 90% level that's required for nuclear weapons. But it's something that Henry Kissinger is looking for, some kind of a nuclear event that's going to remake human society. And we should all be concerned about that, because we know what Henry Kissinger and Brzezinski and other people of his ilk have been able to pull off in the past. Now, a country that does have nuclear weapons, North Korea, says a new nuclear test will be part of its fight against the United States. North Korea said Thursday that it plans to carry out a new nuclear test and more long-range rocket launches, all of which it said are part of a new phase of confrontation with the United States. The North's National Defense Commission said the moves would feed into an upcoming all-out action that would target the United States, that they called the sworn enemy of the North Korean people. Now, again, this is something that, if you remember the movie Red Dawn that broke this last fall, it was widely criticized for the absurdity of the idea that the North Korean government would attack and invade the United States. And almost all the critics were unanimous, as well as most of the public, in saying that that premise, and of course they had originally shot it with the Chinese government invading the United States, but the Chinese, with their extensive financial controls already in place in the United States, delayed the movie for a year and got it reshot with North Korea as the villain. And even in the movie, they kind of had to laughingly apologize for North Korea being the villain. So that's not really credible threat, but it's something I believe is really kind of set up for internal consumption. This is a regime that is thoroughly bankrupt, not only financially but morally, and they have to have a enemy, a big boogeyman, to kind of keep everybody together. Well, we've got another report after the break. We've got an interview with someone who has some insights for us as to what we might expect in America. This is someone who grew up in Poland, who lived under communism and under a repressive Stalinistic regime, and wanted to come to America because of what he knew about the land of opportunity and freedom as he saw it. He came here and enjoyed that freedom for a brief period of time, but now he's seeing some of the same things that happened in his home of Poland starting to happen in the United States. And for those of us who don't see the trends coming, he is trying to warn us. And that person, his name is Bert, and he'll be with us right after the break. So stay tuned for that interview.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
Fellow freedom lovers, Alex Jones here with the biggest contest announcement we've ever made. This is so incredibly exciting. We are launching Operation Paul Revere. What did Paul Revere do? He rode through the countryside in New England saying, to arms, the redcoats are coming. Oneth by land, twoeth by sea. And all that evil men and tyrants need to flourish is that good men and women do nothing. Let me officially announce Operation Paul Revere, a $100,000 cash first place winner to be judged by yours truly, Alex Jones. The film can be 3 minutes. It can be up to 2 hours. It can be fiction, nonfiction, documentary, drama. It's got to promote liberty and freedom and expose tyranny and oppression. And it's not just people in the U.S. that can enter. It's folks worldwide. The rules, the details are at INFOWARS.com/contest. You have to read the rules and officially sign up for this because it's a $100,000 prize first place, $10,000 second place, $5,000 third place. But just as I did last year with the reporter contest, we are going to crowdsource from the pool of incredible talent out there and hire several official crews to be directors and writers and camera people in INFOWARS.com produced major films and documentaries that will be put in movie theaters and on cable. And I've got all the connections to get it done. Together, we're going to really give the New World Order hell. This is extremely exciting. I've made over 20 films. One of them alone has reached more than 40 million people on YouTube and Google Video. The Obama Deception, Endgame, Fall of the Republic, Road to Tyranny. Films are the most effective thing I do, but they're very time-consuming. And so I want to turn the power of we the people loose here. And your art, your research, your ideas are unstoppable. We're officially kicking the contest off this Friday. And you've got a little more than 3 months until April 30th. Just a little more than 3 months to produce your documentary or your film and get it out. And it will absolutely reach tens of millions of people. Our normal contests get about 500 entries. That's what $10,000 prizes. This is 10 times that. $100,000 for first place. That's one of the biggest contests out there. In fact, it's the biggest next to Doritos that has $100,000. This is huge, ladies and gentlemen. $115,000 in cash prizes and a shot to have your film produced and financed by INFOWARS.com. Edit it, upload it to YouTube and one other alternate public video site, and send your entry to Paul Revere at INFOWARS.com. The animating contest of liberty that Thomas Jefferson talked about is happening right now. The modern battlefield is in the mind more than ever. We use truth. The globalists use lies and deception. The corruption and oppression and high-tech police state is in our face. But the controllers are scared. They intended to use the internet to dominate and control humanity and surveil us, but we've turned their system against them. This is a historic crossroads that we have reached, and I ask you to ride in the year 2013, just as one of the founders of this republic did back in 1775. I'm calling you to arms in the InfoWar because the pen and the video camera is mightier than the sword. Let's go in there and rescue humanity and awaken them and set brush fires in the minds of men and women everywhere. Be part of this contest. You've got 3 months. Put your hat in the ring. Be part of the solution to the corruption and oppression. Be part of the resistance to tyranny. We're looking for the Paul Reveres that will drive a stake through the New World Order's wicked heart. ProPure is introducing Pro One. All of your filtration in one system, portable, on the go. This is a revolutionary system, and I am so pleased to be able to introduce it to you. This is the Pro One by ProPure. You wanted it, you got it. No more do you have 2 or 3 filters to just reduce sodium fluoride. You have a system that cuts out the sodium fluoride and up to 95% of hydrofluorosilicic acid. Advanced manufacturing technology combines silver-impregnated white ceramic with new Aquamedics advanced media for removal of fluoride and other heavy metals, all in one filter element. In the last 20 years, companies have developed technologies that will cut out classical fluoride, sodium fluoride with a secondary filter. Because sodium fluoride and its derivatives are so incredibly tiny, some of it still gets through, so you've got to add a secondary fluoride filter onto it, which still doesn't cut out some types of fluoride. Ladies and gentlemen, ProPure for 2 years has been quietly developing this with scientists and engineers. It was designed in the U.S. They only have factories that can make this in England. So it's made in England, and this is the only filter that not only cuts out the other bad contaminants and also the fluoride in one step, it cuts out the acid derivative of fluoride. It is the only one that does it, and out of the gates, we have it discounted at 10% off with promo code WATER. This is the system you need to add to all of the ProPure systems that you've gotten from InfoWarsStore.com. The new Pro One filter element does it all. Water, fluoride, and other heavy metals. This is 2-stage filtration in one filter element. To be clear, Pro One water filters, designed and created by ProPure, are the only gravity-fed filters out there, period, that don't just cut out so-called sodium fluoride, but cut out what is added to most water supply systems, and that is hydrofluorosilicic acid, which is a hopped-up, energized form of fluoride that is literally dozens of times more deadly to your body. That's what's being added to almost every municipal water supply, not just here in the United States, but in Canada, England, the UK in general, and much of Europe. New Pro One filter elements are good for more than 2,400 gallons, blowing away the competition. The ProPure Pro One is a revolution in gravity-fed filters. Take advantage of this today. It's a win-win. Support the InfoWar by purchasing it from InfoWarsStore.com. Support the broadcast and get the lowest price out of the gates anywhere. So no matter where you live in the world, it is time to get the latest development in gravity-fed water filtration, up to 95% of hydrofluorosilicic acid. No other filter can cut any of that out. Only ProPure and their new system, Pro One. All available at InfoWarsStore.com or by calling 888-253-3139. This is the only system that in one unit helps reduce or remove pesticides, herbicides, chloramines, ammonia, and chlorine, hydrofluorosilicic acid, the most common form of fluoride not covered by other fluoride filter brands, and sodium hexafluorosilicate. This is a revolution against the tyrants. They love putting the toxic acid base of fluoride into your water. They love the fact that it's an adjuvant supercharging the trace Prozac in the water and the hormones and the other chemicals. They love the fact that it supercharges the GMOs that you're eating. By cutting out fluoride, you cut out the turbocharger in all the poison being artificially introduced into your body. This is what I use. It's a win-win. You get a high-quality product at the lowest price. You support the InfoWar. Get your Pro Pure with the new Pro 1 filter today at InfoWarsStore.com or by calling 888-253-3139.
Well, a couple of months ago, we had the drone mob here in Austin. We got a lot of people locally and even some people from out of town came to talk about drones and to actually kind of play in the park, but kind of bring awareness of people to what's going on with drones in this country and potential dangers with that. And when we were there, we met some people that were very interesting. One of them is in the studio right now. We've got Bert, and Bert, welcome. Thank you for coming in. Now, Bert is you're from Poland originally, and when we met, you were telling us a story about how you were always looked up to America, wanted to come here, but you're seeing some very disturbing trends happening in America that you've seen before. And we want to talk about that. But first, you've got a fascinating story about how you got here and a little bit about what life was like in Poland. And we were talking just before the interview began. You grew up you were born in the mid-50s. So you were kind of at the tail end of Stalin, but you saw some. Tell us a little bit of what it was like growing up in Poland under the communists.
Growing up in Poland under communist regime wasn't a pleasant experience because you felt like you're trapped in some kind of cage. You cannot leave, and you have to stay it. And you have to permission of government for everything you do, and permission everywhere you go. Everywhere just papers and rubber stamps, papers and rubber stamps. And from the financial point of view and economical point of view, was very hard life because the food shortages and all the product shortages and everything was worse and worse and worse, and it took like 40 years to fill it. So it was a difficult time, even for a kid like me growing up. I knew my family struggled a lot to feed us and struggle a lot to get anything for us, clothes and other products, so it wasn't a pleasant experience.
We were talking about what had happened in the Eastern Bloc countries, and there had been some revolutions. I was surprised to see that there was some armed resistance in Poland immediately after the war to Stalin and the Soviet occupation. I mean, these are returning military veterans who had their own personal firearms. They were experienced in combat, and they put up a fight for a while there. And then also in '56 in Hungary, there was a successful revolution, which the people were able to change the government, but then the Soviets invaded in force and put back Soviet puppets. But later on, in '68 in Czechoslovakia and Prague, there was a peaceful revolution, and then in 1980 in Poland, Solidarity. And what was it that changed in those days? I mean, the '68 revolt in Czechoslovakia wasn't successful. The Soviets came in. What was it, in your opinion, that made the difference between a peaceful revolt in '68 and the peaceful revolt that began with Solidarity in the '80s?
The big difference between those dates and those movements was the poverty. In '68, there wasn't so much empty stores in Poland as they were in '80s. And poverty brought people to desperation. And they organized underground because that's the only way they could organize the movements, and they get together in solidarity, and that's what that means, solidarity movement. The people solidarize with themselves and for common goal and just move ahead with.
Now, when we were talking, you said the poverty kind of came about slowly. It's kind of a creeping poverty.
Yes, because the corporations, like huge corporations, didn't exist, which control food supplies and control any production. Was a small activity. Small farmers produce food, and they bring food to markets, and that's how people basically existed. And
so as you're growing up, you're seeing the small businesses, the small farmers, gradually being strangled out of existence by this government bureaucracy.
Yes, slowly but surely they destroy the small farmers, small businesses, just like there is in their Communist Manifesto. And abolish, number one, abolish private property. So that means abolish everything what's private. And government control everything, every production. And this is not different if there is a government-owned factory or company which is huge, or private-owned monopolistic company which is huge as well and cooperate with government. This is not different.
Right, a monopoly is a monopoly.
Yeah,
right, exactly.
And there is government monopoly, and in other cases a monopoly of somebody who work with government. So this is end up the same.
Yeah, it's hard to tell where one stops and the other begins.
Yes.
Now, what did you see about it? What made you want to come to America from Poland? How did you know about America?
The legend of America was always alive in Poland, and I think still is. And it was always dream of mine to come to America. All those movies, westerns, and we, as a kid.
As a matter of fact, there's a picture on Wikipedia of Solidarity, and they've got a picture of Gary Cooper from High Noon, and they wrote Solidarity in Polish over that. So,
so when shortages of every product you need for life was so huge in Poland, that was in 80s, I decided, so enough is enough. I'm not going to waste my life to stay in a line for food, for furniture, for washer, for dryer. I wasn't interested in it. I just had enough, and I decided, so first time I have a chance, I just shut the door behind me, and that's it.
You were telling me that everybody, of course, had to wait in line for food. They didn't know what was going to be coming. They would just get in line, and whatever would show up. And the thing I found interesting about it, we were talking about how people formed cooperative networks of individuals so they could pool their time and their resources in that way. But and that's something that you know, we all look at this as individuals, but you know, a lot of people have said if there's an economic collapse or a major disaster here in the U.S., coming out of it on the other side with just you alone is not a very effective survival strategy. You really need to have a community of people who have different skills and who can work together to produce something, right? And
help each other. That's the most important, because there wasn't that much issue in Poland. If someone buy some food, he always share with family members, and not only closest family members, but many family members. And that's how we survive in many cases. And in many cases, we bought some stuff which was prohibited from farmers directly, and this was like underground activity. What kind of stuff did they prohibit from small farmers? Anything, because they wanted to control everything. Every pig they raise, every cow, and we're starting to see that now. I mean, we've seen controls put on things as innocuous as raw milk, but we've also seen in Michigan them coming after pig farmers and things like that to shut them down with a vengeance. Now, how did you get to the U.S.? That's an interesting story. When I decided so enough is enough, I started to study how can I get somewhere to Western world, and I figured out so I would be the most happy to go to America. and because it was very far away and very difficult to swim there, so I decided to fly. So I bought the trip to Cuba, and Cuba was a communist country, so I sneaked them off a little bit, and pretending to going to Cuba, I just escaped in Montreal. I studied how the plane fly over there, and because wasn't enough fuel to fly directly to Havana, I knew it. The plane gonna have to land in Montreal for more fuel, and this against the Canadian law for people to stay on the plane when they fuel the plane. So everyone needs to leave for the special transit area. And in that area, officer of immigration always was there. So I just walked to that officer, and I didn't have to say much. I just
Well, you said you didn't even speak English when you came.
No, I didn't, and I just hang him a passport, and he knew what I want. An interesting story was on the plane, because on every plane like that was the agent of
the government?
Government agent.
Secret police?
Secret police, like maybe not like KGB, but kind of.
Like Homeland Security, maybe?
And he wear a leather jacket, black leather jacket, long one. And that's how we recognize them in many cases. And it was so funny because I just, with my views and my expressions and my opinions, which I couldn't keep my mouth shut, so I tried to be a little bit like them, and I wear black long leather jacket too. So he thought I am the other one, because they did not know each other.
Well, now, where did you get all these radical ideas from? You said you watched movies, but did you get it just from that?
When you grow under pressure, you became diamond.
Yes.
You know, and I grow under pressure in communist country in every area of life, and every time we cross the border to Czech Republic, it wasn't Czech Republic then, was Czechoslovakia. Every time we went there, there was a big oppression on the border. They look for everything, and of course, it wasn't that big as right now in the American airports. But it was a very, very unpleasant experience. They treat you like a criminal. Even if you just have, let's say, like gold ring, you have to report it, and they wanted to know absolutely. And in many cases, they steal from you things, like in the name of the law. It says, you're not allowed to bring this through the border, and you have to give it to us now. And so many times they rob us. But we went there just to trade. Trade some things what the Czech didn't have it, and Slovak didn't have. And then we bring something to Poland what was not available in Poland. And between that, we make some money, and we have a little bit better chance to survive.
So you just assume it's a cost of business having to go through the thieves at the border?
Yes, and I travel a lot. And after I came to America, I travel between America and Poland many times a year. But when this craziness started after 9/11, this experience in those airports are even worse than I lived through back in 17 and 80s in Poland. So I'm not traveling right now at all. Like 7 years, I was only once in Poland.
My sons, we went to see Red Dawn. And in that movie, the North Koreans invade the U.S., and they set up, of course, the stereotype of tyranny is to set up checkpoints that civilians have to go through. And when my sons saw the movie, they said, well, it wasn't quite as bad as the TSA. Maybe we should go with the North Koreans, you know, because they're not going in people's pants or what, you know, I mean, it's what we're seeing now. And tell us about that. Tell us how you've seen things change in America from the mid-'80s that you've when you came here, so 30 years or so?
I would like to, I have no bad intentions towards America. America was my dream and still is. And I just wanted to explain myself, my point of view on the issue. America, for Americans who are born in America, is like a mother. And for me, it's not, and they love America like you love your mother. And for me, it's not like a mother. It's like a wife. I choose it, and I love like a wife. So anything I say is for benefit. I have in mind, so somebody listen to what I say and benefit from it and wake up, because we are heading the same direction, even worse, because this equipment right now and technology and technique involved in all this spying and searching, and those cameras wasn't available in 1970s and 80s, so only like manual searching. And right now,
and we were talking,
wow, this is high tech. This is very, very high tech operation.
We were talking earlier, and you said, I asked you how it compared. Did you feel like you were living in a police state like East Germany, which is very, the Stasi, which is very archetypal about that? And you said it wasn't as bad because there weren't as many people who were willing to sell out to the state. But with technology, you don't need a lot of people to sell out to the state. And they can go in more detail and more thoroughly into your life than they were ever able to do in East Germany or the Soviet Union.
That's why we need to be involved. I always believe America is land of opportunity. But right now, I want American people to understand this is not a land of opportunity for job or business. Right now it's land of opportunity to save this country. So everyone who have a peace of mind and common sense should get involved and introduce legislation, because there is a absolutely waterfall of legislation which is absolutely garbage, is bad. We need to cut this off. We people with the right hearts and the right minds, we need to introduce legislation in America. Maybe this is a good idea to introduce legislation if some congressman or senator who should represent our interest introduce a bill which is in contradiction with the Constitution, he should be automatically leave the office. He should not be allowed to be a congressman anymore. Only shadow of the doubt, so this is contradictory with the Constitution of United States, and I have on me always.
Great. Great.
Only this. If you just read this, just read it, just study, and you know what's in it, and this is the highest law of this country. And if we do not obey, if we do not protect it, if you not defend it, we're going to lose it. And if we lose this country, what we going to have? Is this worth it to keep the house and be a slave? Is it worth it to have a nice car and being a slave? It's not worth it. I'm telling you. The most thing is how do you recognize if you in the country, and it could be any country on the face of the earth, and if you're afraid of police, it's tyranny. If police is afraid of you, that's freedom.
Yes.
And this works every time in every country. And you start please think, are you afraid of police in America, or are they afraid of you? If they disarm you, do they leave those arms who ban on you? Do they leave for themselves to have it?
They do. And that just came out.
This is not disarming. Because, sorry to switch the subject, but there is a leaf, marijuana leaf. I never use it. I don't know what it is, but I know it's banned. It's banned for everybody. Yeah, for police too. Yes. But when they ban guns, do they ban for us only? Or for police too? No. For military? No. So this is like disarmament of one group of people only. If we disarm one group of people only, the other group gonna be masters of the group without arms.
Absolutely.
And how this gonna end up? It's gonna end up mass killing. Always happened.
Yes.
Mao, Stalin, Hitler, always happened. Always. There's no other way to go, because the group with the arms are ruling those who doesn't have the arms.
That's right. And it's not even just the government. I mean, it's in New York, when they just passed this most extensive ban, they were upset because they didn't make an exemption for retired New York policemen. Okay, they're a separate class now, okay? And they're saying, well, we're going to be at the mercy of the criminals. And it's like, yes, that's the average citizen is saying that, okay? All the citizens are going to be at the mercy of the criminals, not just retired police, if they take the guns. So, yeah, they are increasingly seeing themselves as a separate class. As you said, they're restricting things, just like you saw in Poland. They're restricting making it impossible for small businesses to survive through economic sanctions and bureaucratic red tape. And then they're destroying our liberties, not just the Second Amendment, but they're destroying our civil liberties as well, things that you saw there. I mean, in Poland, did you have the right to trial by jury, things like that?
Yes, but you have this right, but you didn't have any chance to win. This is different size of the coin.
That's right, and we're starting to see that here now as well.
Because they are in the same club. You understand? Jury the same club with government. So, so what? And
the way that works itself out here is that people no longer realize that juries were given the task, not that they have the freedom, but they had the duty, as well as the freedom, to judge the law as well as the facts of the case. But they have allowed themselves, because they don't think independently, they don't read the Constitution, they don't read history, they think that they're just there to do whatever the judge instructs them to do. And so they become rubber stamps, even if they're not, you know, party apparatchiks like they were in Poland or something like that. Now, you said that you lived under martial law briefly in Poland as well. Is that correct?
Yes, I used to live under martial law from 1981 till 1984. And borders, General Jaruzelski shut down the borders, and we couldn't leave the country, and it was very, very difficult. That's why I didn't come to America sooner than 1984. I had the plan to do it in 1981, but for 3 years I couldn't, and then there was no way for small fish like me.
Well, Bert, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your experiences, and I hope that it'll help to wake people up. Things didn't change in Poland until people saw the results of communist rule. They didn't see where it was headed. They had to experience it, and I just hope we don't have to experience it here. I hope that through your experiences and warning us what's going to happen, that people can see where this is all leading and do something about it. Is there anything, before we close, is there anything you'd like to tell people?
I would like to ask American people, I would like to warn them. There is something what even didn't happen in communist regime. Poisoning. Poisoning is the worst thing happening in this country. Watch out. Everything what you put in your mouth may have a poison. And what's making me very sad, people just doesn't realize that. And if they realize that, their thinking is like, well, this cannot be that bad, and I still gonna drink it, and I still gonna eat it, and I have in mind fluoride in the water. That's one issue. But there is aspartame, there is Splenda, there is sucralose, there is many ingredients in everyday life. What this country became is like, boy, what can I put in my mouth so I don't poison myself and end up in hospital later? And everything what we are saying here, and you cannot just get this information from TV. Mm-hmm. The worst poisoning of your brain is a TV set.
That's right.
And if you please turn that off and start to think, there are some sources you can get the truth, like INFOWARS.com. You can go on the line and look on those videos like on TV, not different, but the news is different. It's
mm-hmm.
true.
It's not filtered.
And I appreciate, I started to do it 6 years ago, and because I have this hunger for truth. If we do not know the truth, we're gonna go the wrong direction. And I just realized and have this similarity, what I just wanted to say. Would you keep in your home plant would spray poison all over your house? Wouldn't you? No, you wouldn't. You probably throw out your window because you don't want to get sick of that poisoning. Mm-hmm. And why do you keep your TV?
That's right.
This is worse than plant who poison you physically. This is poisoning you mentally. If they look how you react to it. You buy what they want, you vote how they want, and you think how they want. Mm-hmm. So they got you. They got you by this big screen and bigger screen and a bigger screen. Mm-hmm. Don't be trapped in it. Just turn off, throw out the window, and start looking for truth. There's many websites, but INFOWARS.com is the best one. Alex poured his heart out to the people in America. He is the #1 hero in America I found. So stand behind him, please. Stand behind him and do the right thing, what your heart is telling you to do. Don't be wishy-washy. Like I met so many people. I have a situation in America right now. It's a difficult situation. No friends because I wanted to talk true.
Yes.
I don't want to talk baloney and manure, like they say bad words, but I'm not going to use it. It's like bull manure, mm-hmm. Okay? Right. I don't want to talk like this. Right. I just wanted the truth. And the truth only I found on Alex's website and his staff, those people who have hearts, I can feel it. And thanks God to one gentleman who introduced me 7 years actually ago to that website, and I was in that trap too. I didn't know what's going on. But after studying every day, instead of watching the news on TV, I watch news on INFOWARS. I know many things what's going on, and I can react to it.
Yes.
And if you don't believe some news, what you see, you just don't condemn, because condemnation without investigation is the highest level of ignorance. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Don't be ignorant. This country needs help. We all need together to help this country to be safe from what's going on.
You're talking about the fluoride in the water. We need our water filtered, but we don't need our news filtered, do we?
That's right.
That's right. We need to get it straight and undiluted so we can make our own determination and educate ourselves. Too many people are caught up in the banalities and the trivialities and the entertainment world. Mm-hmm. And I guess at this stage, you know, we see 1984 creeping up on us, but right now it's really more like Brave New World, where people are getting seduced by pleasure and triviality and that sort of thing. Bert, thank you for coming. Thank you for waking up and helping to wake up people as to what's going on. Thank you so much.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Well, as I said, you want to get your water filtered, but you want to get your news unfiltered. It's not just water either. It's also knowing about what's going on with GMO. Just 2 days ago, there was a breaking news story out of Europe that said that they found very bad substances in GMO crops there that had not been caught by earlier tests. And that's the sort of thing, you know, that we've been worried about, as well as massive crop failures once we just go to one particular monopoly crop by Monsanto or some other large corporation, that we could have not only severe health effects from unintended consequences of GMO, but that we could subject ourselves to widespread famine. But getting back to the filters, if you want to help support the operation, go to InfoWarsStore.com. We've got plenty of water filters there. You can also find documentaries there that'll help you to understand what's going on with other food and things in the environment. And it helps to support the operation. You might also go to Prison Planet TV and sign up for membership there. That helps us with the funding of the operation, as well as you can send that to other people. As many as 10 people at a time can watch Prison Planet TV, and you can pass it out to even more people than that, because that's how many people can watch it on your account simultaneously. Well, that's it for tonight. We hope to see you tomorrow night at 7 o'clock Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. I'm David Knight.